Your ability to inspire and to build trust is essential if you're going to be a good leader. You can only do that through authentic and confident communication skills. So how do you do that? Well, in this video, I'm going to go over how you can plan, practice, and prepare so that your next public speaking gig will not only be a much better success, but will help you manage the anxiety you might feel going into it. Stay tuned. In order for you to grow as a leader, you're going to have to grow in your communication skills because they enable trust and confidence from others towards the leader. If you want to grow in that regard, you're going to have to build those communication skills. And how you express yourself clearly and confidently is a key component to that. Public speaking is one of those things that you're going to need to learn to do if you're going to be a strong leader. That's just the way it goes. According to the National Institute on Mental Health, 75% of us struggle with this. Apparently, it's called glossophobia. It's a real legit phobia. 3/4 of the population has this issue of fear of public speaking. Some people fear it more than they fear death. So think about this. If you want to grow as a leader and you can get over your fear and anxieties of public speaking, you're going to be ahead of the majority of the people out there in terms of your ability to lead a group. It's going to become clear and evident to the group rather, that they can trust you and that they can have confidence in you if you have the ability to speak clearly and communicate effectively. Public speaking can be considered a part of a legitimate disorder called social anxiety disorder. So if you feel in any way, shape, or form that your inability to speak publicly without super amounts of fear and anxiety, having all these symptoms, is somehow disabling to you, is keeping you from growing as a person, as a leader, communicating with others, then you should be seeking the help of a therapist, not a YouTube person like myself who happens to be an RN, a registered nurse, but I'm not a mental health practitioner. So if you're going to YouTube for mental health help, you probably are going to the wrong place. So I would suggest that if any of this is limiting to you in some way, you should really go to a therapist. But if what you're doing is just to look at sort of tips on how to deal with anxiety generally with respect to public speaking, then you can keep listening to this video. Fear of public speaking is just that. It's fear. So it's fear of rejection, of failure, of ridicule, of being embarrassed, of saying the wrong things, of not having the right answers while you're on stage, for example. So what I'm here to do is to help you kind of go through these 3 steps to get you there. So hang tight. There's plan, there's practice, and then there's prepare. So let's go through the first one, which is plan. So you want to build confidence. And really the biggest thing you can do is understand that if you've been invited to speak at a conference, probably they're inviting you to speak to that conference because you're the expert or you know a little something about the topic. So right off the bat, you're more than likely the leader in that area if you've been asked to speak on it. So again, kind of let that sink in for a second. People typically don't ask you to lead a meeting or invite you to speak at a conference if you've not ever, done that work before. Keep that in mind. You can actually build confidence by doing a bit of research and understanding the topic, for example. Again, it comes down to planning your delivery. So if you want to plan your delivery, research what you're speaking about. You may know something about a certain topic that you're speaking about, but there may be parts of it that you're not too sure of and you might be insecure about. Research those things. I'll give you a perfect example. One time I was asked to speak at a national conference on a topic called risk communications in emergencies. I'm not a risk communications person. In fact, communications is not my degree. It's not my background. I'm an RN. But I was asked to replace somebody sort of on a short notice. And I really quickly had to learn about risk communications and come up with a plan on how I was going to present this at a national conference in front of a bunch of health colleagues. Sometimes you just get thrown into these situations. So the only way to prepare is to learn the topic, learn what it is you want to speak about, and get as much information as you can into that presentation so that you can speak intelligently and confidently about the topic. Organize your thoughts, whether it's through cards, PowerPoint. In some cases, a presentation is appropriate because you're going to a big meeting and you have to present a business case or something. Maybe it's better to use stories, anecdotal stories. Think of a way to express what you want to say in a way that is maybe has a bit of humor in it, or maybe throws a bit of your own experience into the situation so that you can grab that audience's attention and kind of keep them interested. Some of the strongest leaders we know are great storytellers. Think of Walt Disney, think of Simon Sinek, think of Les Brown, it ain't over till I win. You don't actually go and see these fantastic storytellers, rather at a conference, and not come away blown away by how they said something, because their storytelling is so powerful. If you have a story to tell, do that. Insert a story. Know how long you are on the agenda for. Super important. You don't want to go in there with a 5-minute presentation when you're expected to speak for 20, or vice versa. So you come in with a 20 presentation when you're really only there for 5. So really be clear about how long you have and prepare yourself based on that timeline. Anticipate anticipate the types of questions. In a government setting that I've worked in, there's a risk comms piece that talks about anticipating what the public will ask their politicians on a particular subject. And the reason why we do that is so that we can prepare the answers and be able to respond to these maybe sensitive or highly political questions when they come up. So the same thing applies to your presentation. If you're presenting something, understand what the audience may want to know more about and be prepared to answer those questions by having some back pocket notes or back pocket thoughts about how you're going to respond or react to certain questions. And then finally on this piece of planning is know your audience. Really important to know who you're talking to. Are you talking to a bunch of scientists who want to understand the scientific lingo and background of a paper you just wrote? Are you talking to the general public who maybe don't understand all of the scientific particulars but are really interested in the outcomes of that study? Are you talking to business folks that really want to hear about the business bottom line? So really understand who you're talking to and keep it clean. Authenticity is really good, and you might curse like a sailor like I do on the home front, but it's not professional. It can come off as very vulgar and offensive, and that's the last thing you want to do at a presentation is be offensive and vulgar. So try to keep it clean as much as you can when you're going forward on that. Are you liking what you're hearing so far? If so, press the like button. That would be greatly appreciated. The second tip is practice. Practice, practice, practice. Everybody tells you, but it's not that simple. You can do what I'm doing right now, which is take a YouTube video of yourself. You don't even have to post on YouTube. You can just take your selfie camera out, put it on a stand, hold it across from you, and record your entire speech to yourself, and then watch it over. It's a really great opportunity to see, are you stuttering? Are you hesitating? Are you repeating the same words like I do all the time? Are you staying within the time allotment that you've been provided? Sort of use it as an opportunity for you to really gauge your speech style. If you're going to be on a stage standing, if you have the ability to put your camera up on a shelf or up on a table or what have you, and actually be able to do it in such a way where you can see yourself standing and walking as if pretending you were on stage, and then you give your speech, then you can really kind of get a sense of, do you walk the stage? Are you pacing? Are you standing in one place? Are you clasping your fingers? Just kind of get a sense. And you can do it in the safety of your own home and not have to worry about showing yourself to anybody at that point. Recording yourself is a really great way not to stress yourself out any further, but to refine and help your delivery and your practice with respect to how you're going to deliver your information to the audience. You can actually practice in front of somebody. I know, right? In front of a real person, somebody who actually is right in front of you. But there are groups like Toastmasters all over the world and all over North America at least that do this, where they will help build your speeches with you. They'll help record you. They'll provide positive critiques, and they'll mentor and coach you on how to public speak properly and help you grow as a speaker, which will ultimately help you grow as a leader in your domain. So if you really struggle with group settings or you really struggle with public speaking, then contact one of these groups or maybe get a coach, because they can really help you work through those issues that you're having, especially if the type of work you're doing really requires you to have that ability. But again, I suggest that if you want to be a leader in anything, whatever your domain is, you really do need to be able to learn to speak confidently in front of others. So this would be a great way for you to do that. And then when you think you've got it all down pat, practice it again. Go through it one more time, full stop, beginning to end, record yourself, time yourself, do whatever is required so that you're comfortable and you're confident in your delivery. The final step is preparing. You have put your speech together, you've put your notes together, you've got all of your thinking around how you're going to present and deliver it, and the day comes and your stress starts to really take over, right? So how do you prepare? Prepare is not about planning your actual presentation. Preparing is about you. It's about getting you ready to physically go out on stage or to go to the meeting and get ready for the big day, if you will. So the first thing you have to do is commonsensical stuff is go to bed as early as you can the night before. Even if you're stressed out, try to get as well rested as you can, because you want to be as sharp as you can be for that particular presentation. Try not to overdo the caffeine in the morning, because that can make you really jittery. I have a tendency to talk really fast when I'm nervous or when I get excited about something, and I probably did it on this video, so it's probably not a good example, but I tend to get really excited and jittery when I'm nervous. So staying away from the caffeine in the morning might actually help you stay a little more centered and keep you kind of in control of your delivery. Be well hydrated, but don't drink like a liter of water before going on stage when you suddenly have to go potty in the middle of your conversation with the audience. That's probably not a good thing. So you want to make sure that you drink so you're hydrated in the morning for sure, but don't overdo it just before going up on stage. Eat light. Some people get really nauseated before going up on stage. public speaking can be anxiety driven and cause stomach issues. It can have people want to go to the potty again for other reasons, which we'll not discuss here. But if you eat light that morning and not eat a big heavy bacon and eggs kind of breakfast, it might actually help your cause a little bit. Keep that in mind. Stay away from any sodas or soft drinks, because I find that it can make you extra gassy. Anxiety already will make you gassy. And so if you drink carbonated drinks, you're going to be even more gassy, which will cause you anxiety when you're on stage, because you're going to be holding back burps, which it sounds rude, but it's a natural thing. But when you're on stage and you're trying to give a speech, that's just not what you want. And you don't want it in a big public meeting or an important presentation at a big, group meeting of some sort. Stay away from the soft drinks if you can. Do yourself a favor. Pack an outfit that makes you feel powerful and strong and comfortable. Obviously, you're not going to show up in track pants necessarily if you're going to a big business meeting, but you want to feel strong and comfortable. So maybe it's a power suit. Maybe it's just an outfit that you feel confident in. Maybe it's wearing your hair in a certain way. I don't know. Whatever it is that makes you feel more confident that day, do that. If it's wearing red socks, then wear red socks. Whatever it is that turns your crank, whatever makes you feel comfortable and confident in the morning, do that, and that'll help you tremendously. And then ready, get, set, go. So you've done all 3 steps. You're good, right? You're good to go, right? Well, not always. Now you're on stage, right? What do you do if you freeze? Well, it's going to happen. Sometimes you're going to be in front of a massive group of people and you're going to freeze and you're going to not know what you're doing. You're going to forget where you were. That's where your notes are super important. Make sure you kind of keep on top of where you are in your notes so that if you do freeze, you can kind of stop. And you know what I've always found when I've lost my thought is just be authentic about it. Go, wow, I lost my train of thought. Because it's the human element, right? It's normal for us to do that sometimes. So just admit it to the group, admit it to the audience, and then move on, right? It's like, okay, let's go back to where we were before and just kind of reset yourself if you can. Don't forget to breathe, right? It's super important. I'm really bad at that. I forget to breathe. I hold my breath in, I breathe shallow, and that's a really bad practice. So don't forget to breathe, because when you breathe through your nose, for example, it will fool your brain into calming itself down. It'll fool it into thinking that you're in a much better space. Don't forget to breathe. Speak slower. Be deliberate. When you're excited or you want to get something out and you're nervous, sometimes I do at least, I tend to speed up in how I say things. So if you're excited or nervous and you typically speed up, then consciously slow it down. If looking at the entire crowd stresses you, then find a friendly face and focus on them. I've done that where I just look at somebody and I'll just find 2 or 3 people in the audience that I feel are engaged with what I'm saying. And I just bounce back between those 3 people and forget the other 100 or 200 people in the room. And if that helps you to focus, then you do that. That's what helps me. So maybe that'll help you. So again, planning your attack is super important. Making sure that you practice everything that you are going to be sharing with the group or in the meeting, or how you're going to be presenting something at a conference, for example, and making sure that you prepare yourself for the actual day and on the actual day will really help you handle the fear. If you have the opportunity to speak publicly, my only suggestion would be do it as often as you can so that you can become more and more comfortable speaking in public. Take the opportunity to put your hand up in meetings, to say something, to communicate. If you're one of these people in meetings that never says anything, that always stays behind and stays quiet and has a thought but never shares, maybe get brave. Maybe put your hand up and start practicing on the smaller scale. Try practicing by saying something when you're at a meeting. Share your opinions, share your ideas. Be prepared to have them shot down, because that's good practice on the smaller scale for those bigger events. Take a seat at the table. Like Sheryl Sandberg says to us ladies, take a seat at the table, have an opinion, put your hand up, practice being assertive, practice saying something in public, and that starts with just your team meetings, and then you can kind of build from there. So that would be my final tidbit of advice on that. So remember, handling your fear of public speaking is something that does take practice, and it does take time, and you do have to repeat it over and over again. It's like anything else. It's a skill you have to build, you have to develop. And again, if you have fears that are completely debilitating, feel free to speak to a therapist. Go to those people who actually do know how to treat and manage these kinds of anxieties in a more professional manner, if that's something that will help you. But I really do hope that this video helped you in any way, shape, or form. And if you liked it, please make sure you like down below and subscribe, because there will be more content like this going forward in the future. I'm TDP from On the Level Leadership. Thanks for watching.